You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life,
whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy.
This week on The Couch, we're talking about burnout. But this isn't your typical burnout discussion. Our ways to deal with it is not just self-care. So if you're feeling exhausted by what you have to do, or you feel like you're never doing enough, this week is for you.
Sure is. It's for me too, Carlie.
This is for me as well. Perfect timing. Shout out to
definitely. Yeah, it's weird because I feel like lately, I don't even know if I would call it burnout, but maybe it is, because we'll talk about like what burnout really kind of means. When I think about burnout, I think about being just tired and feeling like there's just too much going on. You feel overwhelmed, or you feel like you can't quite like keep up with everything. And lately, like I feel like I've had a little bit more, like, so if we're talking about work, I had kind of a little more to deal with more people and new projects and things like that, right? Which are sometimes top heavy at the beginning. Like you gotta do a little more work getting things going and started. And so, yeah, I can identify with this. When I think you said a friend of yours sent you some videos and stuff about burnout, and that's kind of what sparked this. And they were both like, yeah, this is kind of how we're feeling right now, so we should talk about this.
Absolutely. Shout out to Janae, one of my line sisters, for sending me this information. She listens to the episodes, and I was intrigued because the title of one of the pieces that she sent me was like the cure for burnout, and in parentheses it was like, hint, it's not self-care. And I feel like we always talk about self-care, but in life everybody is like, oh, self-care is the answer for everything. And
Right.
it just can't be. Like, I think that that's completely unrealistic, and I really like that approach. So I was excited to dive in to this as well, because I feel like the pandemic and then transitioning back into work after being at home, and just how the world is kind of changing, adds an extra layer of stress that we have to deal with. And so it's kind of like a new level of burnout that people are reaching, I think, both personally and professionally. And then even thinking about it, like after spending like a year and a half not being around people, all of a sudden you're back around people. And like, how does that feel to like put back on this facade and networking and smiling?
And also too, I think it's like you said, it's a different type of burnout also, because even though we've been apart like physically, it doesn't feel like we've been having way more meetings, and like it's like, dog, it's a Zoom call or something like every like 30 minutes, and it's like, yeah, my whole day is just talking, even though I'm not like with people. It still feels like kind of draining, and like you're always in meetings. Like there's almost more meetings because we want to make sure we're having these conversations, but also it's like, okay, and I also have to do my work, and I feel like I notice people emailing me much later, and like things coming in like 7-8 o'clock, and it's like, guys, like y'all can chill. Like, why are we still working? Why are we still thinking about things? And it's because you've been in meetings all day probably. But
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people say that they feel like they've been working almost more a little bit now.
Working more, and also just being more exhausted. There was like a Gallup poll recently with workers, and I think it was saying that of the people that they surveyed, 58% of both Gen Z and millennial workers are exhausted and are experiencing like higher levels of burnout. So I think just across the board, it's just kind of wearing down on everybody. And when I look at my social media, a lot of times people are just tired. I'm tired. I ain't got it.
Yeah, I'm tired of feeling tired. So then when we say self-care, because that's what's like, listen, like Carlie, and we were both on the same page, like, let's not do another episode where it's like, oh, we're burnt out, so let's go like, take a shower or write in your journal, but I feel like those things are important. But what else is different if it's like you're not doing self-care? Isn't anything that's like good for you and refreshing your body, isn't that still considered self-care?
I think it's self-care. I think it's kind of like the dilemma of toxic positivity, in the sense that journaling is great, therapy is great, exercising is great, taking walks in the sunshine, all of these things are amazing, and still sometimes they're not enough. And so it's recognizing that that is a foundational piece of your life, and you should be doing that to maintain like like a balance. But then also recognizing that we're kind of in unprecedented circumstances right now. So there are other things that need to be happening, and in addition to this self-care. And I think also that's kind of like society's way of putting it back on us. Well, if you took better care of yourself, you wouldn't be exhausted. And it's like, no, bro, like actually I'm doing everything that I fucking can and I'm still tired.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think
then
that's what
what?
makes it weird. That's what even makes it feel even more burnt out. Or like for me recently too, because it's like, all right, I'm doing the things. Like I take time every once in a while. It's like, yeah, I'm done working, or like I'm chilling, I'm watching Netflix, I'm gonna do other things. But it's still like I don't know how to identify why I still feel blah, or like, it's like it's just not it. So what what are we talking about today then,
So we're
specifically
talking
with dealing with burnout?
we're talking about burnout, and I think it's important to talk about what it is, because I think sometimes you can be
Mm,
tired and exhausted without being burnt out. And so in all of the research and things like we read and watched, there's like 4 components of burnout. And so the
mm-hmm.
first one is depersonalization, and this is a separating of yourself emotionally from work or things that you're doing. So the moment,
I like that
that's
one a
like one
lot.
of them.
Yeah, the lady. So there was this YouTube video. I think it's like a TED thing, but the lady was talking about that being a sign of burnout, and I could immediately identify with that because it's like all of a sudden you don't really feel like the purpose or like the cool feelings about work. Like, and it's weird because it's like, man, work is better than ever, and new clients and all that, and it's like, I don't really care. In my brain, for some reason, like all of a sudden, it's like I don't really care about this right now. Like, I'm not into it, And I think that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of it. Like, you kind of separate from like feeling like this is what you need to be doing, but nothing has changed per se. So,
Yeah, and you can still be doing work that you love. Like, I don't want this
mhm,
like to be a misnomer. Like, oh, if I do what I love, I'm never gonna feel this. No, that's not
right,
true.
right.
Like, you can have your dream
At the
client,
end of
your
the day, like
dream
we don't even want
opportunity.
to work, so it's like let's not
Nobody
even.
wants
Right,
to
right.
work.
That's fair.
So I think that's the first one, is depersonalization. The second one is you have a decreased sense of accomplishment, or a feeling of being
Mhm,
less effective. So it's like, man, I have all these clients, I'm doing all this stuff, and still doesn't feel like
mhm,
it's enough, or you still don't care, or you're being more productive and doing better work, but you're feeling less effective in like all of the
mhm.
actions that you're putting out there.
And then the next component of burnout is emotional exhaustion. And I feel like we definitely talk about that quite a bit. And I understand like what that feels like too. It's just like, yo, I just feel tired. And then I think especially too as women, women a lot of times will feel that exhaustion feeling because I think we're more nurturing across the board, where it feels like, we kind of want to make sure our friends are good, or your family, you might have kids. Um, and I don't know, maybe this is, me being sexist, but I feel like women have more responsibility in society
I
in
do
general,
too.
or maybe we take it on ourselves, and that's the problem. But just feel tired, like you literally just feel exhausted. So that's definitely a component of burnout.
And then the last one is physical exhaustion. It's like no matter how much sleep you get, if you are exercising, you're eating good food, all these things, and you're still just tired. And I do think that women also have more
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities, whether society is structured in a way that we have to, and or we take it on. Whatever happens, I feel like we do. And so emotional exhaustion and physical exhaustion are where women tend to see burnout the most. And for men, it's more of and this is a scientific study. It's not like just a gender thing, but a scientific study. Men seem to feel it more with the depersonalization. Like that's their
Mm-hmm.
first key sign of
Mm-hmm.
burnout.
Like all of a sudden, it's kind of questioning, like, what's the purpose of this? And like, why am I doing this? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but also, I remember it's important to recognize that there are so many other things like depression and anxiety. I think those things can feel like burnout. I was kind of trying to figure that out the other day. I was like, man, I just really don't care about anything. Like, am I depressed? Like, and I
Mm-hmm.
kept telling myself I have ADHD basically. So I remember I kept telling
Me too.
myself I should Google so I can like see like what's the difference. I feel like all of a sudden it gets all kind of cloudy. Like, am I just burnt out or am I like over it? Like, what is going on right now? But I remember that she said burnout is not necessarily when you like, yo, I don't want to get up today. Like that could be something more serious and that could be something different. But
Mm-hmm.
burnout is more conditional. Like burnout can be like a period or what I'm going through right now. And that burnout is more so like you can show up for work. Like so you can get up, you're doing the things, but you're thinking like, man, why am I doing this? Or I don't want to do this. So it's a big difference versus there are times when you're like, yo, I don't got it in me. Like I can't do anything right now. I don't want to talk to anybody. And so recognizing kind of a difference there as well when we're talking about burnout, I think is important.
It's huge. And my therapist always asks, like when I'm like confused, because I think I have ADHD also, but that's a sidebar.
Mhm.
We should probably have a therapist come on and talk about that, or somebody who
Yeah,
specializes
yeah,
in ADHD. That would be cool.
yeah.
But
Instead of trying to learn
I,
from Instagram pages,
because I
because every
definitely have
time,
a save folder.
yeah, yeah, I'd be like, oh, like, cause they'll be like, when you're ADHD, you don't like loud sounds all the time. I'm like, that's why I'd be mad, annoyed anytime. Like when you hear somebody going through their stories and stuff, I'm like, yo, turn it off. Like, and then I'm like, I don't do that. But anyway, that we definitely are on a sidebar. But there's a lot of like things that connect to it besides just you being all over the place, and it's very interesting, like how many things connect to some of these conditions or some of these
Yeah.
kind of labels here.
And being neurodivergent in general, like,
Mhm.
just not doing things the typical way. So we'll definitely have
Mhm.
somebody on to talk about that, because I'm very intrigued, but I want to do more than just like Google it or look at it on Instagram or
Mhm.
TikTok. But my therapist always asks, are you able to get things done in the day? And so that's why I
Mhm.
like that differentiation. He was like, okay, you have all these overwhelming thoughts, or you're tired, or you're anxious, but did it stop you from doing what you had to get done today? And not like
Mhm.
our a
Mhm.
million thing to do list, but the things you had to. Did you show up for your meetings? Did you do, X, Y, and Z? And it's like, well, actually, I did all those things. Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Then it's not as serious, but it's like the moment that it
Mhm.
stops you, like to where you can't get out of bed, to where you can't show up and like be yourself in life, is like a hint. You should probably talk to a
Ah,
therapist. You should probably reach out to somebody, because the moment it starts like impeding your life is when there's a signal that it's a different issue.
that makes sense. So it's like, don't put depression on yourself or certain things on yourself if it's like, yo, you may be going through it, but you're going through it. Like if you're still making the moves, it may not be all of that. That's a good way to think about it. And in that case, now I'm like, oh no, then I was still getting up and doing it. I was like, like I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
but I was doing it. So
So we could
yeah,
be
that's
burnt
that's
out,
different. You're not
or you could just be,
decapacitated.
yeah, or you could just be a very high functioning depressive person. So I'm not saying it's not, if you can.
She said, yeah, girl, go get checked out.
Look, regardless, go talk to somebody if you feel like, it's struggling. But in addition to just defining what actual burnout is, something else that I really liked that they talked about in this TEDx talk is how our stressors and our stress are indicators of like how we get burnt out. So for example,
Mm.
like you get stressed about something at work, your body reacts, you start to feel overwhelmed, and then you go home and then you have to deal with your kids. And so what happens is we get stuck in these cycles of stressors, but we never actually allow ourselves time to process and feel safe.
Mhm.
And so the stress cycle, like anytime we get stressed by something, our body perceives it as a threat. Our body reacts with fight, flight, or freeze. And then we have to signal to our bodies that we're safe. What happens in current day is we're not getting chased by dinosaurs. We're not, having to fight for our lives, hopefully, like with whatever's going on, but that we stay in a constant state of stress because we never slow down enough to allow our body to process those stressors or emotions. And so what happens is those stressors build up and our body gets stuck in the state of reaction to stress. And so we're never able to calm down and feel safe. And if your
Mm.
nervous system stays on like high alert all day, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be more
Mhm.
irritable. You're going to be less effective. And so thinking about that, like whenever things happen, do you allow yourself time to process what's going on?
But what does that mean, like processing what's going on? Because when we think about like physiologically, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
that's right.
Like when we're talking about, the adrenaline in your body and the things that are happening
Mm-hmm.
when you're stressed, technically, right? My thing I
Mm-hmm.
always think about is like, all right, to stop and like take deep breaths. Like when you hold it a little bit longer and let it out a little bit longer to tell your body like, yo, we're good. Is that processing it, or is there even more to it than that, you think?
I would say it's both. So in my like teachings as a dynamic mindfulness instructor, part of it is physically getting your body out of that fight, flight, or freeze state, which is stopping,
Hmm.
breathing. If you can slow down your breath,
Probably
your
just
body
telling yourself
knows.
like, I'm safe, I'm good. Like,
Yeah, but you have to do that. And like, think about how often we get stressed out by a meeting, by traffic, by
mhm,
our partners, by our friends, and we don't take time because we're running from thing to thing to thing.
mhm,
So
mhm,
at the end of the day, we have this buildup of stuff that's like stress and it's so heavy in our bodies, but we can't even process because we don't even remember the first thing that happened. Like we're just trying
mhm,
to make it through the day. And so I think it's not like a cure all, but making sure you can take that time, whether it's to do those deep breaths, to meditate, to talk to a therapist, to process, write down in your journal, whatever it is, like all that's, I think when those little self-care exercises can come in and help you process and let things out.
So this it's starting to make more sense than when we talk about it this way, that why, just self-care and like lighting a candle isn't gonna change your body. Like it's literally knowing how to deal with your body. And I think it's so interesting that like we don't grow up talking about it like that, or learning that, or thinking about that. So what else is part of that process?
Man, so real quick on that, it's so interesting. Like if you ask someone like, oh, did someone teach you how to deal with your emotions or with stress? No,
Yes,
nobody
it's
did.
never a yes.
It's never a yes. But
I see a lot of parents now who like they do that. I'm like, damn, like I wish I had that, but we just like got in trouble, or it's like whatever.
yeah, and I think that's why, right? Because now we realize we have all these emotions and we're in a
Mhm.
space where we actually care about our mental health, and we're not just going
Mhm.
to do whatever you want us to do until we die.
Mhm.
We're like, actually, no, we want to feel good too.
We
Thanks.
understand like that it's connected to like your mind and your body, and all of it is more connected than I think we've ever before, like really thought about and or had time or could afford to like think about, because probably a lot of us, like people of color, etc., like you're living in survival mode a lot of times, or at least us as Americans. And I'm like, we're getting to a place now where it's like, oh, we don't have to think about everything from like this struggle perspective, and like now let's connect the dots of like holistic, taking care of yourself, which is a lot more than what our parents were able to like do. Like that's just not where they came from. So I think it's very interesting, like the direction that things are going. And it's interesting, like we're like 30s, like learning these things, or like trying to apply these things, and how we can now pass along, more knowledge around understanding your mind and your body.
Yeah, and think about the better we understand ourselves and are able to deal with our own stressors and our own emotions. Like imagine that
Mhm.
ripple effect into our friends, our family, our relationships. Like we're
Mhm.
all just rising tides raise all ships. We're all trying to get better and help everybody else get better too. And that's why it's
Mhm.
so important to recognize like this stress cycle and like notice when you get caught in it. So
Mhm.
we
What
kind of
is the
went through it.
cycle?
So you have like a perceived threat. And so back in the day with cavemen, that was a dinosaur chasing them or
Oh,
a
right.
bear or
Mhm.
something. And now it could be someone slamming on their brakes in front of you on the highway. Like you're
Mhm.
almost about to get into an
And you
accident.
feel
It
your
could
body
be,
like tighten up when that happens too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the worst. When you like look up from a phone or something, you're like, whoa, your whole
we're
body
gonna
gets
die.
tight. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's that.
You brace yourself for the
Um,
afterlife.
exactly. But also we could also do that to ourselves in our minds. It doesn't even
Uh-huh.
have to be a
Yeah.
physical threat. It could be us
Trying to
not
answer
getting a
an
project
email or
done on
something.
time, answering an
Mhm.
email or seeing something on social media and getting triggered. And then our body reacts. And
Mhm.
then most of the time we either try to distract ourselves, like you mentioned with Netflix, we try to do something else, or we're automatically like, oh man, I gotta hop into this meeting, or if somebody slammed on their brakes and you're
Mhm.
running into a meeting. So you don't really have time to stop and like let your body physiologically know
Okay.
that you're safe, but then also mentally process that, like, man, I got triggered and it was because of this, and I'm okay, and talking to yourself, affirming yourself. And so
Mhm. Mhm.
what happens is it just builds up over time. And I think that's probably one of the leading factors to burnout. And that's what those two women, those two sisters were alluding to, is like we get stuck in the middle part of this cycle. And we never actually get to the
Mm.
part where like you feel safe, like those self-soothing
Okay.
mechanisms,
Mhm.
and it
Okay,
starts to build up.
so when we were saying stress cycle, so we do know what that is, because we talk about it all the time, like how
Mm-hmm.
over time we've evolved to where like we're not getting chased, but we let these other things trigger our body. And so now I understand. So now to deal with burnout, which we've been talking about, now is it, hey, we need to actually complete this stress cycle in a better way, or in a different way, perhaps.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And
So
so
go ahead.
I was about to say, and so they gave a little bit of insight into that, and
Mhm.
then I've added just with some of my life experience, because I actually teach people to how to deal with stress. Like stress
Mhm.
resiliency is something that I teach, and Lord knows I'm trying to improve it in my life as well. But it's something
So
that
do
I
you
teach.
already
Like
teach
there,
all of this?
pretty
Like, is this
much.
oh, so this isn't new to you at all?
Some of it is like thinking about the ways that stress compounds, and that is the one of the leading causes of burnouts. Like that's new to
Mhm.
me. Like just thinking about how it comes together, but a lot of these things I teach. So
Mhm.
um, when you're thinking about your stressors, if you just take a moment, some steps you can do in the moment is to notice how you're feeling, and then ask yourself like, hey, what's going on? And what do I need? And I think that that's such a beautiful question. I saw a post yesterday from Calm, like the meditation app. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
instead of asking yourself what you need to do for the day, ask the day, like, what do I need to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
And so
What do I want to
completely,
get out of this?
yeah, instead of flipping it, what do I have to do? Like, what do
Mm-hmm.
I need? What do I need? I don't think we ask ourselves that. At least I don't that often, or as much as I should. And so really sitting with yourself, like somebody slams on their brakes, you could have a mini conversation with yourself, like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? I mean, I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
stressed. Almost got into a car accident. Okay, are you okay? I'm okay. Like, I'm good. Kind of processing it. And then asking myself, well, what do I need right now? Well, actually, I kind of need to cry because that scared me. Okay, cool. Or I need 5 minutes just to chill and like be okay, and then I'll be all right to process. But we don't really ever give ourselves that. But if we were to cut ourselves, we would give ourselves the, the care that we need physically. Like, oh,
I
let me
was
go
like,
get
what?
some.
But
Like,
that's what
well,
you're
no,
saying.
I mean, yeah, like if you're cutting something in the kitchen, you cut your hand. You're gonna wash your hands. You're gonna put peroxide. You're going to
Yep.
put a Band-Aid, maybe
Take
some
care of it.
Neosporin. Yeah. And
Right.
so
You don't just let it keep bleeding.
thinking about our emotions in the same way. Like, whenever something happens, even seemingly small things like a paper cut, like, physically, what can you do in the moment to make sure you have what you need and to help you process through it?
But I think a lot of times too, because this is slightly new to think about sometimes, and because there's so many stressors in our lives, I think that it's almost something maybe to get in a habit of like maybe like every once an hour, or like, if you gave yourself like a set times where it's like, yo, let me think about things right now, like what's been happening, what's going on. Because I think often like we don't even realize that we've been stressed, or we don't think about it in the moment, unless it's something super obvious. But like you might not think about what's weighing on you at the time, or like, but you know how we always are like, yo, unclench your jaw and like let your shoulders down. We're always tight, but it's like we don't really process it. And so I think that until you're getting like super self-aware at that point, it will probably be good. And I would want to think about like just taking time, even if it's once a day, like to start, but like taking certain times where you really ask yourself the questions that Carlie's talking about here, to really think about like, what happened today? Like, let me process that. And I think one of the important things sometimes too is just even having that conversation at all. Like, because I think we kind of do it, or we kind of might be like, dang, I don't want to do this. And like, but I know I should. And, but I should relax. It's okay. Like, we might kind of do it, but like to really like have the conversation, like, yo, how do I feel like right now? Why? And like, what can I do? And like really talk it through is in itself, I think, is part of the process for your body of like acknowledging it,
Yeah. And I think that's an exercise y'all should try this week is once a
Mm-hmm.
day. Either like, I would say probably at the end of the day before you get
Mm-hmm.
tired, because you're not going to do it if you get tired. So
Nah,
maybe like
yeah.
when you first get home, before you completely wind down, like, how am I doing? Ask yourself, how am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I need today? Did my needs get
Maybe
met?
during commute time or something too, like when you're just kind of like
Yeah.
on the go or something.
Yeah, like maybe no music, you just like talking to yourself or thinking
Mm-hmm.
or whatever you need to do, but checking in with yourself like you
Mm-hmm.
would your partner or your kids or people in your life, because we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't allow ourselves that same grace that we do. And in doing it, it's not easy. Like, this isn't easy. It's not something any of us were raised to do, unless y'all's parents did. Shout out to them. It's not anything that we were raised to do, to check in with ourselves. And a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
emotions were viewed as like weak or too much, or you were just
Yeah.
told to be okay regardless. And so there's a lot of reasons why we don't do these things. So don't take it like, man, I'm failing, but just know that like it's okay to recognize that these feelings might be uncomfortable, and that in that uncomfortableness, if that's a word, uncomfortable,
Discomfort.
whatever. Thank
In
you.
that
I was like, there's a word.
That's how I be there. I
Damn.
get it.
Okay. That's all right. In this discomfort, like, you're allowing yourself that space to process, heal, and let things go. Because if you just keep on accumulating them, you never let them go. And so I think that that's probably one thing that stops people from doing it, because it seems like it's a lot of work. And in the beginning, it probably is. It's like when you're first learning how to do something, it takes a while. And so just recognizing that, these uncomfortable feelings, the lady mentioned, they're tunnels to get you through to the light. They're to get you through to being, safe, and recognizing that, you can let stuff go, but you have to feel the feelings first.
Yeah. But sometimes it's hard. And like you said, a lot of things keep us from completing that cycle. And I think one of the biggest things is just not ever having done it before. Not having done it before. And sometimes, like for myself, it's sometimes you don't really know how the fuck do I feel? Like I will try my hardest sometimes, like I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to think. And like, the more I'm trying to think, it's like, now I feel like I'm just making something up. I don't even know. That's so wild though. Because you've grown so disassociated from ever having to do that or thinking about that, but it is so important. And maybe it's easier now, or what's easier for me, instead of like trying to force myself to think about like, oh, how do I feel? It's like when I do, like when something's obviously like bothering me, or like when my body's tight or something, it's like, oh, this is something. And even if you just say this is something, and then trying to kind of move through it from there, but recognizing that is for sure important. Um, what do you mean when you say, because in our notes here you have, when you feel you need more grit, you actually need more help. What does that mean?
Um, so I'll hop into that, but real quick, if you do have issues and you're not as versed in trying to express your feelings, if you Google emotions wheel or feelings
Mm-hmm.
wheel, there's an entire wheel. We posted it before with one of the episodes that we
Mm-hmm.
talked about. But you can
I
go on
printed
there and
it
try to
out.
figure out. Yeah, I do too. I have
I
it in
have, so I use that, but then I also like I'll be like, okay, I can start from here, and I'm like, yeah, none of these are quite right either. Like sometimes it's still like, dang, I don't know what it is, but that is helpful for sure. And I'm like, I feel
yeah.
crazy that I have to pull out a piece of paper and a list of words, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So it is
Yeah,
helpful.
it is helpful. And so, I really loved something that somebody in one of these things said. They said, when you feel you need more grit, you actually need more help. And I think that goes into self-care is not going to save
Hmm.
us. And that means like whenever you feel like, man, I just got to push through, I got to get all this stuff done at work. If I had enough grit, I wouldn't be struggling. I just got to
Hmm.
push through. I just got to hold it
Feeling
together.
like you have to achieve through is
You know what I'm
never
saying?
it.
And it's never it. And it never is.
Hmm.
And what we could allow ourselves, instead of the need to feel like we have to push through or we have to achieve or do all these things, is actually asking for help, whether that be like someone to hold space, like, or a therapist, or even someone to kind of
Hmm.
just love on us when we're having a bad day. You don't always have to push through whenever you feel like shit. Like, I think that that's a big thing
Hmm.
also. Is like, we've been raised in this culture, like, if you're gonna get stuff done, you're gonna get it done regardless. Not taking into account that whenever
Hmm.
you're stressed, whenever you're burnt out, whenever your emotions are so affected on a visceral level, it's actually impossible to operate at your highest level. So no, you can't
Yeah.
actually do all the
Yeah.
things you thought you could. And so to
Yeah.
check yourself, if you're feeling down and you feel like, nah, I should, that's a key. I should just be able to do this, or I should push through. It's like, how about you try to not do that this time?
Hmm.
How about you
Because
ask for
trying to
help?
push through is part of the reason why you're messing up, you're burnt out, why you're feeling behind. Like, yeah, I think I got that from one of the things like Kyle C said before, where he's like, yo, maybe like those issues are the reason why you're not, like, you're in a cycle, like you're not moving forward, because maybe you need to just chill. And that's sometimes when you get like the ideas, or you get refreshed and now you can do it faster, or it's just like, yo, you can't force it. You really just can't.
You can't force anything. And especially like the older I get, the more in tune with myself. Like, things when I was younger, I probably would have achieved through or just pushed. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to live my
Hmm.
life like that. I just don't. Like, I can, but I don't want to. It's that whole survival mentality. We can do whatever we need to do to get stuff
Hmm.
done. But if I can do it in a way that feels good and where I feel like my best self, I will take that any day of the week, like, over trying
Hmm.
to just force things. Like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, that's exactly it. So how do we deal with this, like, new wave of like feeling burnt out with everything that's been different lately, and just, it just seems like everything from all sides right now, as far as health, things going on with friends and family, like your own work being remote, like all of these things. How are we dealing with that then?
So I love how they change the focus from it just being on ourselves. Like, it's not always on ourselves just to heal
Hmm.
ourselves and do these
Hmm.
things. They challenged us to look at those systems and the cultures that we're also involved in. So, for example,
Hmm.
they mentioned that there has to be a culture shift in the workplace and in the community. In the sense, like, the workplace, like, it's been like, don't talk about your personal issues, don't bring that stuff to work. But during the
Hmm.
pandemic, it kind of forced people to bring our personal issues to work because we were working from
Hmm.
home and had, you can see people's mamas in the background and all kind of
Hmm.
stuff. And so just understanding that everything is holistic and you have to take care of your employees and your teams and the people that you're working with, and take into account their mental health. And then also, thinking about the culture at your house, they mentioned, like, you can have this really stressful day and everything can suck, but then you come home and you want to be surrounded by
Mm-hmm.
love. And so very carefully curating your environment outside of those things that do stress you. And maybe home is stressful, but very carefully curating who's
Mm-hmm.
around you and people that can love on you, give you a safe space to just be, to not feel like you have to show up a certain way or do certain things. So just changing the culture of like where we live and operate.
What does that look like though when it's just you? Like we just did an episode also on, was it the last one, on
Being
feeling
alone.
alone and
Mm-hmm.
lonely, and like, you know, sometimes that's part of the issue too, is like, man, I don't feel like there's a space where I feel love around me or community, or, you know, how to deal with it. Like, and so now maybe I feel even worse because I feel burnt out, but also it's like I just have to deal with it myself.
So I think in addition to a therapist or some professional help, like a support group or something like that, some other options are learning to ask for help. But if you don't know what you need, it's harder to ask for help. So for example,
Mm.
if I was feeling lonely and I'm like, I could call Lexi and be like, hey, can I just come over and hang out today? Or can we just spend a little bit of time? We don't have to talk, but I just kind of want to be around somebody. I need to just be around somebody today.
Mm-hmm. Which, and that would be way different. Now that you say it like that, that would be way different than if you hit me and was like, "Hey, what you doing today?" With the intent of trying to get to the part of the conversation where it's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
let's hang out." Like I might be like, "Yeah, I'm working," you know, which is like, which is fine because like, hey, I'm just working. So it's like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of working. You might be like, "Oh, okay," or you may, you know, you may still switch it to like how you feel or whatever. But I think that is very bold, and that is also kind of taking more responsibility and charge of like, hey, this is kind of what I need right now, or this is what I want, which hopefully nobody would be like, no, bitch, get the fuck out of here. Like, you can't come over. Figure that shit out. Figure that shit out
Yeah.
yourself. Like, and then definitely be like, yeah, come on, you know, like, but no, you know, I'd be like, no, I'm probably going to be in a meeting or I'm doing some stuff, but you know, you can come do your thing. And so that's different too. I think that that is good. And like, why not ask for what you actually need and say those
Yeah.
things?
But if it's not, if
But
you don't have somebody close,
yeah.
then you could even call and sit on like Zoom or FaceTime with somebody and do some work. Like
Mm-hmm.
Stacey Ann and I have done that
Mm-hmm.
before. It's like she was like, I just
Mm-hmm.
really need somebody to hold me accountable. She's like, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
talk to me, but can we be on Zoom together? Because she was like,
Like a
then I feel like
virtual
somebody watching me
workspace.
work. Yeah. So it's like,
That's funny.
but you have to figure out what you need first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think
Yeah,
that's
and that's
carefully
important.
curating the people around you is like, they don't always have to jump whenever you say jump or be there whenever you need them, but like
Mm-hmm.
having enough of a circle to where like if you tell them like I really need you today, even if it's just to sit there, like okay, cool, I can spend I got like an hour or two I can spend with you on Zoom in between meetings or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is probably always an option, like when you're really feeling like that. And it's just a matter of you taking that action to get out of that. But we talked about that kind of in the last episode. What else is there for dealing with this?
I would say just practicing good emotional hygiene. There's another great TED talk about emotional
Mm-hmm.
hygiene. In the same way we do personal, you brush your teeth every day. Why don't you check in with your
Mm-hmm.
emotions every day? You
Mm-hmm.
would bandage up a cut. So why would you berate yourself for feeling bad and having a bad day mentally? You wouldn't do that if you broke your leg, but now you're feeling depressed and all of a sudden you feel bad about yourself. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
changing our perspective and lens on mental health, and then also figuring out what emotional hygiene means for us personally, because I don't think it'll mean the same things for everybody. Like I'm super touchy feely, so I'm gonna be talking about my
Mm-hmm.
feelings and doing this where some people might not. But it's like figuring out how can you check in with yourself, how can you do things every day to work towards that emotional and mental hygiene as well, like you do your
Mm-hmm.
personal.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just kind of thinking about that because I feel like a lot of times it seems avoidant when it's like you're dealing with those types of feelings and you just like I just want to get away, or I just want to take a nap, or but is that wrong? Do you think that that's like, are those things part of your emotional hygiene or not really? Unless you're really having that conversation with yourself, maybe that's more
I,
coping mechanisms.
Yeah, I was about to say, and sometimes that's what you need, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel good, you might need to take a nap, and that's mentally,
Mm-hmm.
physically,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. But when you get up, don't automatically go to Netflix.
Yeah,
Figure out how
and
you're
that might
feeling.
be from the symptom of like fatigue, exhaustion, and like it's like, yeah, I just need to take a nap. So like it's like you're kind of dealing with the symptoms of it, but then at some point it's like, all right, I'm feeling so tired, like what's up with this? And now having that conversation. Anybody who's watching the video, you can see I'm not at home. And I was outside at first, and it was really nice, and then I had to come inside. But I was just like, man, I'm just need to get away. But I always feel like that. That's the first thing. That's when I know I'm dealing with something, when I start looking at fights all day and like trying to think about fake planning. And I say fake planning because like I don't really be making the actual plan. But it's like, how much would it cost to go here and do this or do that or do whatever, and like just get away from everything. But I also noticed now that I've, gone away for the weekend and trying to chill, like I didn't even have my phone on me all day yesterday, but it's like, okay, there's still something to address, I guess. And it's like, that doesn't just solve it, just doing that part. And so I think that what I'm learning from this episode and what I would take from this is to still kind of have that convo with yourself and tell yourself everything is okay. But then I start thinking, like, is that enough too? Like, we still have the stressors, like, which, the difference between you feeling stressed and your stress and the stressors, the things that stress you from work and from people and whatever, all those things still exist. So I don't know, but I need to try it, right? So I'm sitting here like, maybe that won't work, but like, I should just do it and see.
Well, so that's the thing, is your stressors will never go away. There will always be something to stress you, whether
But
perceived
don't let
or
it build
actual.
up.
Yeah, but that's the only difference, right? You're building up your resiliency to something that you cannot change. Like, we cannot change that sometimes people are going to be late with stuff, or clients are going to do this, or our partner might pop off crazy, because they're having a bad day. Like, you can't control the world around you. The only thing you can control is yourself. And I really love that you brought up like wanting to get away, because man, I know so many people, and there's no judgment because I've done it too, where it's like, man, let me just get out the country. Let me fly away, especially pre-pandemic. Let me do all these things. But the difference is, whenever you go to Tahiti, whenever you go to wherever you're going, you're still with yourself. So all of the baggage and all of the things that you're not dealing with are still there. So it's like, how can you live life in a way where you process and let these things flow through you, because you can't control them from coming up. You can't stop yourself from ever being stressed. But how can you build up a routine that allows you to process them and take the best care of yourself possible
in a
these
real
situations?
way.
Yeah, in a very
and
real
not
way.
Surface, because you can pick up a joint, you can pick up a beer, you can go on a trip. Like, there's so many things. You can even sometimes just calling somebody, even if you're not really talking about the real stuff. It's like they're not always like, they're not fully getting you where you need to be. So I like kind of talking about this in a way where it's like, yeah, it's more than like just lighting a candle and take a bath. Like, you need to talk to yourself, and you need to finish the stress cycles of making sure like you are good, you're okay.
Yeah, you have to do those things. That's when we say it starts with self. That's what it means. It's not just great intentions. This is the actual work. Like, this is the actual part of self-care. Self-care, like I said, gets this really bad rep that it's like luxury, pedicures and manicures and baths and
Things
face
that
masks,
feel
which is
good.
great. Yeah, that's wonderful. But what happens whenever you like, crying and can't get out of bed because you're not dealing with your stuff? And it's like, you absolutely 1,000,000% cannot stop things from stressing you. How are you going to deal with the stress? And trying to create a healthy framework for you to deal with stress. And that might look different for other people, but it always begins with noticing how you're feeling, checking in with yourself, seeing what you need, and then letting yourself know that you're safe and getting yourself to a safe space, because you might not be safe in that moment, but getting yourself to a safe space, whatever that looks like.
I like how you reiterate that at the end too, because that's really like what we're saying is, this is the process that we want you guys to get out of this. So I like that you did that again. And then also I recognize too, within those steps, if you're having a difficulty, like you're like, I'm not sure what I need, or if you're having difficulty and like, what's my problem? Like, that's where you kind of make it reach out and have other people kind of help, be a bounce board in some of those spaces to help you get through the cycle. So that's good. I learned a lot, actually. Shout out to, what'd you say, Janae?
Shout out to Janae, yeah. Shout out 5, I see you.
Giving us a little info to talk about.
And look, she did not know how timely this was, because both of us was like, we out this weekend. I'm out.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But shout out to us for still recording. We're 157 deep, baby. But I think they mentioned a couple of other things I just want to touch on, and then we'll get to our shout out, which I'm super excited about this week. But they mentioned that part of dealing with burnout is taking actions when you feel lonely, noticing your responses and making sure they're healthy when it comes to failure, protecting your self-esteem, and that could be from yourself or from other people. We just did a whole episode on self-esteem, so if you need to run that back, do that. Battling negative thinking. We always talk about these negative narratives that we all of us have in our heads, so fighting against those. But when thinking about dealing with stress and taking care of yourself, you're literally taking care of your mental health and your psychological wounds. Those, like, we compared it to very physical ones, but making sure you build this resilience so that life can feel good. It doesn't just have to be stress suck, repeat, stress, suck, repeat. Like that is not what life is meant to be. And if that's where you feel that you're stuck, please reach out to somebody to get some help. I am not a therapist, but I'll, do my best to be here. But there are plenty of therapists. So we've had some on the bouts that are amazing. So check them out too. But yeah, life should feel good. It should be more than just surviving. It should feel like you're thriving. And so we have to transition our mindsets from that survival mindset to a thriving one.
Wise words, good words. Hit us with a shout out since you're so hyped.
Oh, so this week's shout out is Band of Vices, and they are a Black-owned art gallery in the West Adams district. They just had a huge show with a bunch of Black and brown artists from all over the United States. It's actually showing until October. Oh, and international, that's dope. I didn't know that. And it started this past week, but it goes until the end of October, or what date does it go till?
Yeah, so the opening reception was this past Saturday, and you can reserve your time and go check out all of the art between now and the end of October.
Awesome. So check them out, Band of Vices. Yeah, we'll link them in the comments or in the comment section so you can go check them out and support and see all the amazing pieces from all of these amazing artists. And then the question of the week this week is, what is the best thing you've got going on in your life at the moment?
Man, what makes me feel crazy is the fact that I feel like I really have to think about that. The best thing going on. I feel like that's not a good sign. I don't want it to be just like I woke up this morning. I had a good meal. Right. All right, what's really actually going on? The best thing. If you already have an answer, I'm really trying to think for real.
I really, the one I was going to give was a very surface level. Sorry. The one I was about to give was a very surface level answer. I would say I had a hell of a week. I had a very not great week looking back at it. A couple of days were very terrible for me. But what I'll say, the best thing is that I was able to get through it. And I had what would normally have taken me a while to bounce back, I was able to do in only a day or two, which would normally take me a lot longer. I took some self-care days. I told my personal training clients, hey, I love y'all, but I need some mental health days. I can't do this today. And I'm really proud of myself because I would have never done that before. I would have felt really bad. So I would say the best thing that I have going on is that all of the stuff that I'm doing to take care of myself is working.
That's good.
Even if it doesn't feel good.
So I feel like technically the best thing going on is, forward movement and just getting good results with clients and with work. It's probably one of the best things. But but it also doesn't feel like the best thing, if that makes sense. The fact that right now, and that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier, is nothing feels like anything right now. This is not a Lex trying to depress the end of the episode, but I forgot who I told you. I was like, if I could, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I was like, if I could Thanos myself, because I don't ideate about killing myself. I never ideate about that, but I do always think about being I'm just over it. If I could snap my fingers and I just wasn't here, that's how I've been feeling. So when I look at this question, and so I'm I feel like there should be things, because like we've said before, there's a lot of times where it's yo, I got to figure out these bills, or something going on with the car, or money stuff, for the most part, or health things also. And right now it's oh, there's not any real crazy issues, but also nothing also feels that standoutish, but I think it should. So that's kind of the lens that I'm trying to recalibrate right now, is how do you have a more appreciative or joyful lens on things when things are going good. So yeah, I don't know. Technically though, I would for sure say work stuff, just because it's being impactful. And Band of Vices is one of our clients. They were super growing. I sent somebody to their gallery the other day, and they actually bought work, they bought art. And then their socials growing, things like that. The other new clients, they're doing really well. They're really pleased, getting new things coming and all of that stuff. But I don't care right now.
But maybe
It's
then
between
maybe
me
that's
and you,
part of the
Sanford, at the end of the episode.
and
The only
Jay,
person listening. Right, and
Sanford
Jay.
and
That's,
Jay.
that's between y'all.
But what I'll say is maybe that's part of that depersonalization, right? And you shouldn't say, well, I
Yeah.
should feel like this. Like maybe you're not able to feel that because you just have so much shit going on, and that's okay. But I'll never say
That's
it's
why
in
I
those
felt
moments.
that part, because I was like, yeah, I just don't care right now.
I would just say in those moments when you can't feel anything else. So I read this book called Ask and It Is Given. I actually made a reel about this recently. It's like you just have to try to feel one step better. And so if on the scale you're just like, there's 22 levels of emotions, and if you're at the bottom, which is like insecurity, fear, doubt, worry, which it doesn't even sound like you're there, if you look up, like anger is above that. So if you can find something to be angry about, that gets you out of that. And so what I would challenge you to say, and to anybody who might struggle with like, oh, I don't feel like anything is good right now, okay, don't force it to be that. Literally don't force it. Allow yourself to be there, but just try to feel one step better than where you are. And maybe we'll have to talk about asking it is given.
I think it's probably worse though, because it's not like I don't feel like anything's good. I just don't feel anything.
Okay, like, and I think I think that's one of the levels too. But if you can find something above it, or find something that makes you feel good, like, yo, that food I had last night was fire.
Which that's always is. That would be it for me. Like I lit at a fire breakfast. I've had a fire meal, lunch yesterday. Like we were kind of up in Monterey area. So it's like I saw seals. There was like there's seal rock. There's this big rock. There's all these seals like and we had like lunch, and like you're seeing over the ocean and all that. And it's like, oh, those moments, like those are great moments. And like I said, left my phone at home, didn't think about anything. So yeah, it's within the moments. But then like when I'm just chilling, I'm like,
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's not like you're inept to feel.
Reach back to those moments like that.
To reach back to the things that make you feel good. If I've been reading a lot of Abraham Hicks lately, so imagine we're gonna have an episode on that at some point. But if you can just make yourself feel good in the moment, and it can be something that seemingly small, it doesn't even have to be the big things, because in the end, the small things mean more than the big things anyways. So it's those little moments when you see the mountains, when you see the rocks, you see the seals. So allow yourself to revel in that, and don't force yourself to feel any type of motherfucking way, because you don't have to. Sorry for the curse words, but
right. You're like, it's all right, I understand.
Man, yeah. So yeah, just that's great. And I'll say for mine, I had a hell of a fucking week. I felt terrible. I also was like, man, can I Thanos myself? But not like I have suicide ideation, but for real, same thing. If I just was not here, like
it'd be cool. Right.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be no problem.
No problems. We out here, literally. But yeah, I would say that, and then like you're still watching my flowers because these make me happy.
Oh yeah. So yeah. That's
little
fair.
Things.
It's the little things you pay attention to. So hopefully this was helpful to anybody listening, understanding how to deal with these feelings and just being tired and disconnected, because I think a lot of people have been. So
and are. So hit us, let us know at Carlie's Couch on every social media platform. Our TikTok is growing, so follow us there. I be having fun on TikTok.
Oh God, look, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Thanks, guys. Are we done? We'll see y'all. Look, we gonna see y'all. Y'all have a good week. Y'all figure it out this week. Bye.